onwards towards heaven. I have been to hell and back in a poem. I have committed literary suicide and literally litter the subways with linguistics, dropping poems into the laps of strangers as I pass them by. I have written many a poem. But this poem feels different because I feel different today. I loved myself harder than I ever thought possible. It is possible to fall in love with self over and over and over again. Today I rediscovered how genuine it feels to be vulnerable with just this paper and pen. I have written many a poem. But this feels more like affirmation, like the mother goddess earth universe within me giving birth to creation, casting spells to awaken and reverse mind manipulation.
So please be aware, look your very best. And I see you have a mic. If we can go from left to right, please announce and introduce yourselves briefly and what you do.
Hello. Hi. Isn't it wonderful to be here?
Yes.
My name is Julia Dennis Fraser. That's hyphenated. And I was born and raised here in Brooklyn, New York. And I'm just glad to be able to celebrate all our featured artists, black poets, and it's just, you don't know how long that I have been trying to do this, but you will. I'll get to it.
My name is Ron Howell, and I also am born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm teaching journalism now at Brooklyn College. Been teaching there for 7 years, and my student here, I'm very proud to say, Relle. And I'm looking very much forward to the time to be spent with you because, you know, when I'm around young people, I just feel I'm learning all the time. And I look forward to that.
Yes.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Mutiya, and I'm a mother, author, and publisher of Soul Vision Works Publishing, children's books.
Hi guys, my name is Jason Haynes. A lot of you know me as Off Press. Born and raised in Trinidad, I am an island boy. I came up here when I was 11, came straight to Brooklyn, lived there for 20 years, and I'm an author, first time publisher, and I'm a musician. I play my flute, and I'm great to be around you guys, man. I feel the energy already. Thanks, guys.
Peace, I'm Suga Ray, and they always make me go behind all the Brooklyn people. I'm born and raised in Queens, particularly Queensbridge. I'm 32, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a writer, I'm an activist, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm just a brother trying to make the world a better place, uplift our people. Peace.
Special guest, Dr. Brenda Greene, enter the room. Everybody please give her She'll tell you a little bit more about herself a little later, but right now we're going to continue into the panel. So please, the first question will be introduced by my partner, Paris Williams.
Okay, so the first question is, do you remember the first book to ever inspire you?
Do we agree? I'll just go ahead.
Everybody has to answer this question.
It's a very difficult question because you think of one book and then another one pops into your head. But I believe I feel comfortable saying Brown Girl, Brownstone, because, in part because it meant so much to my mother, and my mother read it when it first came out in the 1950s by Paul Marshall, and it's P-A-U-L-E, a woman, although she pronounces it Paul, and it's about growing up in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy in the 1930s, 1940s, and it's meaningful to me also because Paul Marshall grew up in Brooklyn and went to Brooklyn College, where I'm teaching now. And I find it disappointing. I don't think she's been sufficiently honored by Brooklyn College, and I would like to see that. So that's something that I hold out before myself as, as just something to be done. And she's also from Barbados. Her family, my father's family is from Barbados. So that means a lot to me. Yeah, the nations around here. And I've actually thought of her as a deity. I really have, because her books are hypnotizing. And I really feel I'm being carried away into another sphere of a deeper understanding of myself. I'll just mention one other book and one other person who's been meaningful to me, and also a woman, and I also call her a deity, in fact. And she did a book called Crick Crack. Does anyone know it? And then one that was actually non-fiction, Brother, I'm Dying. All of a sudden I'm drawing a blank, but from Haiti. Say the name, Brenda. Yeah, Bleach, of course, from Brooklyn. So meaningful to me for many reasons because I used to travel a lot in Haiti. And she's from Haiti. Haiti! Comment ça va? And she went to high school, junior high school in Brooklyn. She's just wonderful, wonderful. And I encourage you to read her. I encourage you to read Relle.
All right, before I go past me again. I think for me, I read so many books so far in my lifetime that I was kind of thrown off and I can't really bring up a book. But I know Alice Walker. She did.
Yes!
And I'll tell you what else, what other book inspired me. The Book of Songs in the Bible.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Why is that?
It's beautiful love stories, love songs. And I'm just a romantic at heart. And in fact, this book is about romance, love. I'm a Cancer and a Leo. Oh. And like I said, I have read so many books, but that Song of Songs really has inspired me. In poetry, I love poetry. So, Brooklyn, give a shout out for Brooklyn.
Hey, Brooklyn!
And my parents came from Georgia.
Okay.
Like at different levels, there were different books that inspired me. So the very first book that I remember that I felt a connection to as a child was a book that was called Are You My Mother? And I think that book connected with me because I was in foster care when I was younger. And so for the first 3 years, I thought everyone was my mother. And so that was the first book that I connected with. In middle school, it was an anthology that had of poetry that had Nikki Giovanni, Paul Laurence Dunbar, the person I dream. Langston Hughes. Okay. So these are the first poets that I became exposed to, and it inspired me to go into spoken word and actually tell stories and actually get into performance spoken word. And then as an adult, I would say it was Behold a Pale Horse.
Yeah.
Okay, because it just kind of opened up my activist side. So those were the 3 books that stand out the most for me.
Some good books.
Guys, I'm just so humbled to be here, first of all.
Love you, Chris. Thank you.
Love you too, guys. Took my answer. You know, growing up, when I was 11 and coming here, you know, a lot of this book deals with my pains with my father and coming here and bouncing from home to home and being homeless and getting cans from different churches and stuff like that. And I was always alone, and since I was an only child, and so I was in my room a lot.
Shout out to only child.
Yes, shout out to the only kids.
Out here. You know what I'm saying?
We're not spoiled. The one book, it was always between Proverbs and Psalms, and you know, with Psalms for me, it touches me on a personal level because I look at David, and I know that David is a harpist, and I play the flute, and you know, and I look at how he used the harp and in his alone time to make melodies out of his situations, and no matter how desperate his situation became, you know, he always felt in the safety of his instrument, you know, in the safety of his God. And you know, and I felt that a lot. Now moving more contemporary, I've you know, when I was trying to write this book, and I failed every college writing class. When I went to school, it was Dunbar, County Culin. I really love, and Langston is definitely my guy. Race Matters by Cornell West. I read that my second year of college, and I was like, wow, I have a lot of work to do. You know, and he really explores the social sciences and the injustices of our system in such a unique level. And yeah, that's what inspired me. Thanks, guys.
Still putting behind everybody in Brooklyn, man.
We're gonna start with you for the next
Oh man, so the first book that really inspired me on my life path was the autobiography of Malcolm X. Right? As a young boy, my dad was a reverend and he was an activist, right? And he passed when I was 11. And reading Malcolm X, it literally cause I was in a lot of trouble, kicked out of school every year since 2nd grade, right? But it wasn't because of my intelligence, it was because I was angry. I was growing up in the hood. My pops was sick, and I was just angry, right? So reading Malcolm X let me know that it wasn't over, and that I got work to do to build my people, right? So that was the first book. It's still the most inspiring book of my life.
Thank you so much. That was very inspiring. Each and every one of your stories is amazing, and I thank you for being here. So our next question is, what makes me want to pick up your book? There's a lot of books out here on these stands. What makes your book stand out? And any volunteer can answer?
Yeah, I'd love to answer. I mean, my book is a reflection of the times. Sacred Love, Poems and Love Letters is about a young man growing up who was angry but passionate about his people and about his community. And he gets in some trouble and he goes away, but then he develops his passion for writing and he realizes that love is the answer, right? And he writes meditations to love, right? Asking love to guide him, to lead him, to inspire others to love themselves first and then each other. So that book is definitely a reflection of the times. It's a short book, 30 pages, and it's actually going to be turned into a film next year by me and my partner, Sage Love.
And Sage will be taking the stage to talk more about his film efforts coming up. So give it up for Sage.
Nice. What inspires The Prodigal Son, this book I wrote, it explores the relationships between a father and son, but I wanted to expand it between 3 things: love, faith, and hope. Mostly hope. I feel like, especially me having the opportunity and the forum to take the stage, I feel like the onus is upon me if I can make hope tangible to young kids out there, that no matter what your situation is, no matter how frustrated you are, you know, you can always be resilient, you can always bounce back, you can always strive to be better. There's no excuses in this world. No one's going to hand this thing out to you. You have to go get it. And, you know, you can sit back frustrated with what everything is going on in the world. You can make excuses, and you know, I have a lot to be grateful and thankful for. And, you know, with this book, it just explores. I wanted to stay away from beating up on my father too much, but just under the grace and hope of what he showed me. You know, a father who came to this country with nothing. We came here illegally in '91, stayed past 30 days, and, you know, he did whatever it took to get through the system. And, you know, I'm proud that he made no excuses, and he was able to execute, you know, what he was trying to build in our lives. And so I'm just thankful for that, and you can definitely get an inspiration from this, so thank you.
So my husband and I co-wrote 11 children's books together, and they are reflective of the diversity of culture that we see in our society. They're reflective of us. If you look at the images from Daddy Loves His Baby Girl, over there you have Missing You, my very best friend, on the piano. They're just really heartwarming stories that were written out of love. We're also parents of 8. And so our children have inspired, you know, many of the stories that we share. And I just love the fact that they are positive black, brown, and yellow images, just telling stories about life and helping children, you know, navigate it in a more healthier and balanced way.
My answer to this is a little more complicated because I wrote one book, and it was about 15 years ago, and it was about working in New York City. It was called Panorama of Work in the American City. But that's not my focus right now. I am putting together a book. I hope it's done in a year or two, so you're going to have to invite me back. And that is what my life is about now, and it's called The Boss of Black Brooklyn. And but it's not fiction. It's actually the biography of the first black elected official in Brooklyn who won a seat on the assembly representing Bed-Stuy in 1948, and who also happened to be my grandfather, so that complicates the researching and writing of the story. But it's meaningful in a deep sense because I grew up in his home in Bed-Stuy, and my father had a drinking problem, you know, very, very serious at the time, and he was not around. So, you know, what motivates me also is a kind of gratitude, because I really feel that had it not been for my grandfather and grandmother, there's a great chance I wouldn't be around. So I'm very thankful, you know, and that pushes me in the writing of the book, which I was doing earlier this morning. I will be doing later tonight and again tomorrow morning, and that's what it's about.
Well, if you decide to pick up my book, this book, first of all, has a picture of a silhouette of a dancer. And this book is about a young black man that lived here in Brooklyn, New York City, in the urban jungle, and he did not become a drug addict. I made a lot of babies with women. In fact, he didn't have any children. His determination was to become a model and then an actor. He first was a dancer. So you would want to pick up this book and start reading because he met me, a young woman that was 10 years older than him and had 5 children already. And what we went through, this book is a page turner, and I think you would enjoy this book. Nice. This is my second book, my second published book. The other one was about myself and my son. And this is about myself and my soulmate.
That was amazing. So the next question is, what are the best ways for an author to raise money for the literary initiatives?
Well, I wanted to raise money. So when I started selling my books, I told everyone, and I gave them printouts, that whatever proceeds that I made, whatever that was over that I could spare out of the proceeds, I would give a donation to the theater where my husband started his career. And I told everybody that, so they knew. And it was a website and everything. So I raised quite a bit of money, and I already gave him a check. So that's what was my purpose. And I think if you let people know in front that what you're trying to do, that will help.
Yay.
I suppose the answer really for most writers is how you're going to just find a job that you can tolerate doing to sustain you. Sort of, you know, ideally, I suppose it's kind of 9 to 5, so that it's not consuming all of your energy, and you don't want to be ending the day with this anger that's going to keep you, you know, from the writing that you want to do. And some of the writers who have impressed me most were doing, you know, were techies, you know, and working basically, you know, 7 hours a day, just sort of sustaining themselves while they did the work. One of them is a fellow named Relle. If anyone can remind me, his last name was Relle, and he wrote these wonderful books, one about Barbados, full of imagination, Barbados in the 1800s. And he had this job working with computers, had nothing to do with writing and nothing to do with the history of Barbados. So it's a matter of finding a certain peace that can keep you going, but it's you know, it's a challenge, as the Muslims say. You know, it's you know, just a struggle. Every life is, and it's finding your own way. You know, I don't think there's an answer necessarily that in any specific way applies to everybody. It's searching and being true to yourself.
Okay, that's me. I remember when I graduated from college, I got involved with Macy's as an executive in the executive training program as a fine watch buyer. And when I was done with that program, I decided to become an entrepreneur. I needed to work for myself, but I learned some of the things that I needed to know as it relates to running a business. So what I did was I wanted to. When I started sharing my work, I didn't have a book yet, I was sharing my spoken word, and I would put my poetry in these frames. Like I went to a place and got $1 wooden frames. And I would sell my poetry on a table, because we're in New York, you can sell that all over. And people would actually, so I'd have 20 poems or 10 poems on a table, and they would buy them $5 a sheet, or they'd buy $20 in the frame. So I'm saying, as a writer, there are different ways that you can promote your work and save up from doing things like that. Certainly when you have a job, you definitely can invest in save some for you. You should always pay yourself first. I put a portion of that to whatever those agendas are that we have. And in my particular case, when my husband and I decided to take on this endeavor, he actually invested in us, and so he funded our first 8 children's books. But after we had the children's books out, then your children's books actually become your new business, because you can use that as a way of marketing your public speaking, you know, doing author visits, and that in turn goes back into writing your books. So it's always about, I guess it just depends on what your goal is, setting a goal, and then saving up for it, however you decide to save up for it, and investing in yourself.
Testing. Just going out there and meeting eyes with the people. You know, I've always been such a shy kid growing up. I always kept to myself, and you know, with me going out with this book, I think what helped with me initially, besides social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, is I would go out and, you know, I had my instrument, and I was always afraid to use my instrument. I was trying to figure out how can I connect my instrument with this new writing skill. Writing wasn't my first love, music was. And writing was initially such a difficult thing until I figured out, hey, whenever I was worried, I just played. And so I wrote and I played, and I found a way to put that together. So I would go into train stations, and I didn't care. I used my music first. I would just play and let my courage in playing my music just lead myself to have that courage to pick up my book afterwards. I would have my book there next to my instrument case, excuse me, and at least while I'm playing my flute, at least people will stop by, at least they'll hear hopefully some good music, and they'll look at the book, and they'll pick up my business cards and things of that nature, and going to I went to so many open mics and just getting out there, but I go under the impression of I love this book, and it's a dear heart to me, but I go when I speak, I'm reaching that one person in this room, whatever you might be going through. If I can just touch one person before I leave here, I've done my job. And having this book is just icing on the cake. So I don't worry too much about what sells in my initiatives. I just go out and meet you face to face where you're at, and we can move together, and that's pretty much it.
That's right.
I think a way for not only writers, right, but people in general to raise money is, I think the brother said it, or somebody said it, is to just make the vision clear, right? Share the vision with as many people as possible. Enroll your friends, your family. We got social media. Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, and you're gonna get what you need to get it done.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm Mutiya Robertson, and I take care of the day-to-day operations at Brownsville Heritage House. So first, I'd like to welcome you all here. So my question for the panel is, how long did it take to write your book?
It took 1 day. Yeah, literally. It was some pressing times, me and my wife was going through some stuff, and I've always been writing, like my whole life I've been writing, and I wanted to, I wanted to write about love, but also empowerment, transformation. So I spent the morning really just creating a vision, right? But I was already writing, so I just pulled stuff from different places, right, and put it together, and it was finished literally in 1 day. Right, 24-hour time span. The book was, I wrote it, right, and then I was.
A year, or it could take you 1 day, or even 2 hours. It's just what's going through you at that time when you're writing a book and what's inspiring you to write that book. All right. So that's a good thing to know. So if anybody out there is inspired, if you got something that's on you, want to write it down real seriously, and you may have a book out of it. So my next question would be, what advice do you have for young Black writers, young Black writers, to write a book? What would you say? What would you tell them to do about writing a book?
Well, for young Black writers, which I'm a Black writer, but I'm not that young anymore.
Let me rephrase that. What advice do you have for Black writers?
Have a passion. For whatever the subject is, have a passion for writing. Put it in written word. And it could be about buildings in your neighborhood or whatever. If you have a passion for it, you will find the words. And as you write, more and more words will come to you. So I'm saying stick to it, whatever your passion is.
Interesting. I would say that for a Black man and a young Black man, I would say that an understanding that writing can be a release. I mean, I find myself now going to the gym using a heavy bag. Sometimes I say it's because I don't want to grab a baseball bat and go to the office. But it's an outlet. Ishmael Reed said writing is fighting. And I think some of my best work came from being angry about something, because it's a very healthy way of dealing with the anger. And I would say that, you know, and then you try to get it published and maybe start a blog. And of course, Facebook, you can, you know, write as much as you want on Facebook too. But I love that writing is fighting, you know, and Ishmael Reed has done some wonderful things, you know, with that, you know, basic understanding of motivation for writing. Yeah, so I would say that. Right, fight.
I would say write about the things that you are passionate about. Find something that you love. I agree with that answer completely. Edit, write often. I would say that there is find your niche, you know, because there's a niche for everybody. You know, just because it's not attracting in this particular audience, find where it is that you fit in, because then you'll find the people who will buy your work. And don't give up on yourself. Just keep pursuing your dream, keep getting better, and you'll find that as you get better, then you will attract better results.
Ooh, I love that.
I think Mrs. Julia hit the nail on the head. It's all about passion. Passion, you know, moves me to write. Like I said, writing wasn't my first language. You know, music became my release. Writing helped me formulate, to write down what I was feeling, what I was playing musically, if that makes any sense. Where I was able to make sense of the notes that I was playing, and I would try to take the mood of whatever I was playing and take all that anger, all that built-up frustration, whatever love or whatever mood I was in, and channel that into writing in some kind of prose, and whatever came out. Then I would edit. It took me about 2 weeks before I sent it in to be published, where I proofread and everything. But listen, this life, whether you want to be an author, a writer, a musician, you start off with passion, and then you just take it from there. You know, whatever you want to do. And with this writing thing, this came secondary. And I'm loving every minute of it, where you use your strengths and what you know, and your passion for what you do, and why you did it in the first place, and you just run with it, and wherever that takes you, you go, you know?
I think the biggest piece of advice I would give for a young black writer, particularly, is to be patient with yourself, right? Patience is key. A lot of times, you know, we have so many thoughts and so many ideas and so much to write about that we get flustered, and sometimes we give up on ourselves. We don't know which book to pick. We don't know which story to write about first. But be patient with yourself. Sit with yourself, meditate on it. And be patient with yourself and let it free flow. And when it's time to come, it will come. But again, the key is to be patient.
Thank you so much. Thank you to each and every one of you. Now we're going to come down to the last portion of our community panel, in which we're going to open it up to the community. So I hope you audience members were engaged and interested in what these authors had to say. Now it's your turn. Please, anybody has any questions, anything in your minds that you want to ask these beautiful, wonderful authors? Yes.
Yes, I have a question for any, because becoming an entrepreneur, and I know it takes money and time to do it, how would you feel like, what advice would you give somebody who wants to really go into entrepreneurship and and to go on a budget with the money and stuff like that? What you're really trying to do?
Great question. Yeah, just 1 or 2 answers would be good. So entrepreneurism, how do you do it?
Follow your passion. All right, follow your passion. Again, enroll your friends and your family, whatever the business is that you want to start. Know your market, right? Do your research and go. All right, and know that it's a huge risk, right? But you know, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. So go.
I like that. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Y'all hearing this? This is gold. These are published authors here, so you know what I mean? They got some things to say.
It literally is about following your passion, because like I said, when I got out of college, the first thing I did when I wanted to, instead of pursuing a job, I became an entrepreneur. I went to Hawaii, I fell in love with a fabric that was called a sarong. Okay, and I called my husband and I said, honey, there's this really beautiful fabric. I love it. I know I could do something with this in New York. And he said, okay, well, go ahead, pick. So I came home with like 100 of them. And so I started off, I mean, it starts as little as that. You love something, you're going to be ecstatic about it, your energy's going to go with it, you learn how to wrap it, you show people, you get people excited by the excitement that you have for your product. So it started with that, and we saved money doing that, and then I started designing clothing out of batik fabric, you know, and so your dream just grows from there. But I also remember when I was going to festivals seeing Carol's daughter, you know, and she just had a booth, and she had a booth with her products, and she was going to the festival the same way, and then she blew up, and it took her and she was in all the malls. So it literally starts with finding something you're passionate about. It becomes infectious. If you have a good product, it catches on like wildfire, and the rest of it is good business marketing and money management.
Okay, thank you so much. Answer and then move on to the next question. No? Okay, next question. Miss Althea, I know you connected some business. Did you?
And you got that passion, let's use that word again. If you got that passion inside you, you are going to succeed. It might take a little time, but don't let people, you know, either finance or whatever it might be. I'm not into trying to make a product and sell it and so forth, except my book. But I know it can be hard. But if you really think you can do it, you can.
That's right.
I think we all go through that, right? Regardless of if we're entrepreneurs or not. I think we all go through, you know, the points where is it working? Is it gonna work? Should I quit? Should I start something else? For me, the key has been, again, enrolling my friends, talking to my friends, right? Sometimes not even the ones closest to me, because they might believe in me less, but social media, talk to some people on social media, right? Ask the question, if it's 3 in the morning, I can't sleep and I'm depressed, yo, who's up? What's happening?
That's
right?
what happens.
Talking. And even along with that, what works for me all the time is going into nature, go to a park, go sit by the water, sit and just be. And just be and feel what you feel. Let the emotions run through you, let them move through you. And then remember your purpose, right? Because if you're creating something from your purpose, if you're driven by your passion, you will always get the energy and the fuel to push on, right? So, you know, definitely go into nature, man, and that's where the divine lives. And, you know, the energy is
Listen, you match your desires with your expectations. You know, whatever you're trying to complete, you match that with the expectations of the reality of what you want. When I went into this, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm gonna kill it and do 1,000 copies in the next month. I just said one copy at a time. You know, one handshake, one smile at a time. And like you said, when I was writing, I went away from Brooklyn. I went away from all the noise, and New Jersey just ended up being so peaceful and quiet. I went by the water, you know, especially in Edgewater, and it was just so quiet. I could hear crickets and birds chirping and all of that, and I could see the sun. I could see when the sun sets, and you know, I'm sitting there and I can feel what's going on, and that's where, you know, you know, when you get down and depressed, you know, for me as an only child, I got depressed easily. I guess it's the artist in me. It's like I'm in touch with, you know, what was going on. So there's highs and then there's lows, and when I'm there, I go elsewhere and try to, you know, make it happen. But you know, it's where your passion can get you through all of that. So you know, you can stay up. You know.
Thank you.
I was going to say that highs and lows are a part of life, and I think what you're asking more is less about depression, just more about how you stay motivated, right? And so I think that sometimes we have our eyes on the big goal, like this big prize, you know, when am I going to break through? And I think that you stay motivated also by celebrating all of your accomplishments. I mean, every step along the way is an accomplishment. You gotta go from A, B, C to get to Z. And so I feel like when we remember to celebrate all of our accomplishments, you can actually document it and you just feel more of an appreciation. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's go on to our next question, unless Professor Howell. Okay, our next question, Kim.
So how does your writing affect the world? Like, how does it help change the world? Like, what is like does your writing have a purpose that it fills within our community or like our entire world, period, honestly?
Very good question. I guess one of the reasons I became a journalist was precisely for that, because you can sometimes make a difference, not all the time, but it seemed often that that working in journalism was a battle not just with the people who were holding back information from you, but in my case, it was with employers, and it seemed like I was fighting against the publications I was working for. But in terms of doing good, I think back to one time, it was in the 1980s when I was based in Harlem for the New York Daily News. And I was hanging out in a bar. I did drink a little bit back then. And I found out that one of the barmaids had been murdered several days before in her home. And everybody there in the bar seemed to know who did it. And they were, just sad and upset that nothing had been done. And I went back and made phone calls and spoke. It happened in the Bronx. I called the Bronx District Attorney's Office and spoke with the Assistant District Attorney who was handling the case. You know what he told me? He said, "Do you expect us to cover every nickel and dime murder?" He said that. And not only did he say that, but he had already given me his name. So I said, oh boy, this is going to be good.
I felt like it was an important dialogue to open up with children, because in this particular book, the character has no arms. Now, this was inspired by the fact that I also happen to be handicapable myself, right? So we kind of lead with who we are. I'm African American, so many of the characters in the books that I'm creating are going to reflect African Americans because we want children to see themselves in a positive light. Now, the very fact that we started the publishing company was about, my frustration with seeing black images everywhere, negative, on televisions, the news, and so on and so forth. And so the idea was we're going to create the world we want to see and do our part, and one of the things we could do is start our own publishing company. So 75% of the characters look like us, and we have Hispanic. The book, What Makes Me Beautiful, which sold out in English, and we redid it in English and Spanish as a bilingual book. But thank you. This one, Daddy Loves His Baby Girl. I felt like the media was always portraying negative images of black dads, and I know our children have a great dad, and I had a great grandfather, and I know that there's plenty of black fathers who are there for their children, even if and many black fathers who, even if they couldn't be there financially, are there for their children, to be a role model that are showing up in their lives. So we wanted to create a story, just a loving story. So this happens to be Daddy Loves His Baby Girl, because I think I also at this particular time got tired of just seeing Tom and Sons. Wherever it was, I kept seeing restaurants and businesses that said the dad and the son. So in retrospect, when we do this again, it'll just say Daddy Loves His Baby. But this was a political statement. Daddy loves his baby girls too, But also again, sometimes culturally, people feel like the sons are the most important thing. It's a cultural thing. So so I say that to say, when we create books, they're political statements in their own right, and they are designed to spark conversation and to raise awareness about different topics.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So, just a couple of announcements. We are going to take that last question and get into these answers. These authors are going to say their closing remarks. And our food vendor just arrived, so we are going to have some food to get y'all energy up. Make some noise for Mutiya. Yes, y'all sound like y'all hungry. Don't worry, I am too. So we're gonna have some great treats for y'all. They are for purchase, but they are Black owned and Black created. So we're here to support. Okay, so let's get our last question and our closing remarks so we can get some food and support these vendors.
And you know, Black people got it.
Well, I want to thank you for having me here. The last minute I decided to come by and I was told about this group, and it's God sent. And I keep saying that I am blessed. I'm truly blessed.
Yes, you are.
And I think I have helped children. I have had 6 children, and I raised my 5 boys here in this city. And they all became wonderful, educated men. And I have grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and I worked in the educational field for 32 years. And I'm trying to, at this point in my life, being a role model, that you're not too old, you're not ever too old to direct your passion to whatever you may want to do. And they see you, my children, my young grandchildren and great-grandchildren, seeing me working at my laptop and trying to spell words, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And they are inspired. You know, I'm not a traditional grandmother, and I've never been a traditional mother either. But I have been a wonderful mother, I believe. So I am truly, truly blessed, and I thank you for letting me be on this panel.
Thank you. Mutiya Dennis Fraser. Thank you so much. Professor Howell?
In closing, I'm thinking, I made a reference to my father. His name was Wilfred Howell, and I mentioned that he was alcoholic, and that left me in a position where I was raised by my grandparents. But I want to say, and this is paying respect to his memory, he died in, oh boy, 1996, which would be 20 years ago. And he was actually a wonderful person. He joined Alcoholics Anonymous and turned his life around in many respects. So late in life, I really reconnected with him. And I even interviewed him on tape to talk about his life and his regrets and what he was most proud of. And I wound up writing this past Veterans Day a piece in the New York Daily News, an opinion piece about my father, because all of a sudden something surged within me. And I wrote about him and my recollection of what he told me about his experiences during World War II when he was in the United States Marine Corps. Not only he, but he had 2 brothers. There were 3 Howells, raised in Brooklyn. They were all in the military. One of them served in France in the Battle of the Bulge. My father was in the Pacific, in the United States Marine Corps, and it was a segregated armed forces at that time. And his father wrote a pamphlet. He was so irritated that his sons had to be in a segregated Army and Marine Corps. He wrote a pamphlet that was called "It Could Happen Here," about the threat of fascism in the United States. And all of this came to me and affected me very deeply. I came to feel that to do with his anger over his experiences during the war. And I shared that feeling with others who said the same thing, who came to the same conclusions about their own fathers. But I'm so pleased that I was able to connect with him before his death. He was in the hospital, and we just shared, and I came to love him. And there was a feeling of almost release at his death. I have one son, and he's a doctor now, and he has 2 boys that he spent so much time with, and I am so, so proud. And I do think that fatherhood means a lot, and of course there are all kinds of challenges that dads face, but to keep it at the top of the list and the responsibility to the young ones, I think is so important. And I guess if I had a lesson I would like to pass on, it would be the embrace of the family closest to us, and then the widest family. That sense of a community here and a bonding with people from Brownsville and Bed-Stuy also. And it's such a pleasure to be with you, looking at your faces and hearing these young men. It's so meaningful to me, and I just learned a lot being here tonight.
Thank you so much for going with the show.
Love and literacy are two of the greatest gifts that we can give our Black children. And I just want to encourage everyone in this room, whether you have children or you influence children, or just to spark that in them by reading to them. Allow them to read to you. If your child is inspired, find something that's meaningful to them so that you can find those books that they would be excited about reading. Bring your favorite book to the classroom and read it to the class. I mean, I just think that we, as a Black community, need to do more to boost the literacy rates, and those are just some of the things I'm thinking of.
All right, give it up for Mutiya.
Sure. Fortune favors the bold, man. Me growing up, just being so scared and shy, and everybody keep telling me, oh, you have so much potential, and me just wasting it, and just me being so scared. And let me tell you something, if you was to tell me a year ago, to this date, summertime, that I'll be sitting here amongst just established authors, man, and just here talking about a book, something that was impressed on my heart, man, and I could just tell you, man, just live your dreams, man. You're busy living or you're existing, and you just, you can do it, man. Let me end here, man.
Okay, our last closing remark. Sugar, what you got for us? What you got for us? Some sugar?
You still kind of.
Shout out to Brooklyn, yo. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to you beautiful people for inspiring and creating and living and being and vibing at a high vibration and touching people all throughout the globe. Shout out to Paris and Relle the poet for creating a space for us. My closing remark would be, for us here in this room, right? We all have a story, right? I think the greatest tragedy is passing without sharing your story, right? And so my closing remark would be to share your story, right? Share your life, right? Share your world with those closer to you and with those furthest from you. Because the only way to uplift all of humanity is to connect. The only way to connect is to share, right? And sharing is caring, right? And this is a pitch for us, right? Me and my partner, for those who have written. If you want to turn it into a film or you want to do some film work with your book or your story, right? Hit us up. That's my right? We're here. Say what you're filmmaking. Please.
And that concludes our community panel. Give it up for all the authors. They will be returning a little. Thank you so much. They will be returning later on the show. The show is far from over. We have vendors. We have performances. I want y'all to speak to these authors. I want y'all to get to know each other. Now, we have a full menu of food that's being prepared. Okay. I will definitely give you a business card for free, but the bookmarks are for sale. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy. more about where you can find her. We need y'all to make y'all way to your seats at this time.
Hello. When it comes down to more of speaking in front of the public, Relle is the poet, of course, the writer, and I'm more of the artist, so I'm more of the introverted one. But Appreciate Black was made by... One mic. Thank you, baby. Thank you.
When I say appreciate, y'all say black. Appreciate? Black. Appreciate?
Black. Okay, so Appreciate Black was made for appreciating Black people and to appreciate ourselves and to appreciate our neighbors and each other. So Appreciate Black was made from my friends, my artist friends, and it branched off to now this. And it's amazing to see each one of you guys here. And thank you so much for being a part of Appreciate Black. You guys are a representation of our community. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
So I'm so very honored to be able to call this beautiful visionary my partner. She had a vision to appreciate her friends and the people in her community, as she said, and I believed in that vision so much.
Can y'all hear me like this? Yes. So, I joined Paris in this mission to appreciate our people because why not appreciate ourselves? And right here, right now, we're going to appreciate someone very special in this room. Every show we appreciate someone in our community for their dedication to Black excellence. And so I'm going to read the bio of our Appreciate Black Award winner for today, and then we're going to present her with the award. Dr. Brenda M. Greene is Professor of English and Executive Director of the Center for Black Literature at Medgar Evers College of the City University of New York. Professor Greene served as coordinator of the National Black Writers Conference at Medgar Evers and was director of the 2003... and was director of the 2003 National Black Writers Conference. In addition to serving as director of the center, she coordinates the English BA program and teaches composition and literature. Her research interests are in the areas of the literature of women of color, multicultural literature, and English studies, and she has written a number of essays in these fields. Professor Greene is the co-editor of Defining Ourselves, Black Writers of the 90s, by Peter Lang Publishers, and Rethinking American Literature, published by the National Council of Teachers of English. She is currently working on a personal and professional memoir, and she's also published 2 books. Please, without further ado, our Appreciate Black Award winner, Dr. Brenda M. Greene.
We'd like to award you with present you with the Appreciate Black Award Excellence, and please make some remarks for our audience. Thank you so much, Dr. Greene.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate this. And I first want to say, I really want to, sorry.
You're fine. Thank you.
Thank you. This is beautiful. This was was really a surprise. I first want to thank both of you. I want to thank you for hosting this event.
Thank you.
You are so on time. This is so important. And to do it in this beautiful space, I was here maybe about a year ago at a poetry reading, a poetry group. But you are doing what I am dedicated to doing. Right now, at this point in my life, I am really dedicated and committed to looking at how we create legacy. And we have to do that through intergenerational dialogues. And we have to do that and not be afraid to use the word Black.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So when I saw what you were doing, even though I changed my schedule around, I said I have to be there because this is what we're supposed to be about.
Thank you.
And this is what my colleague and friend Ron Howell said he saw a photo of me and Hakeem Al-Budi. Anyone heard of Hakeem Al-Budi? No. Okay, Hakeem Al-Budi is a legend in his own way. He is the founder of the oldest independent black publishing company, Third World Press, in the United States. He is the former Don L. Lee. He and his wife are the founders of several black institutions in Chicago. He is a poet. He is a living legend. And one of the things we had at our last conference was to have, he came in and he entered into a conversation with a young journalist, a poet, because we talked about the importance of having intergenerational dialogues. And the theme of that was, how do we create legacy? How do we ensure that what we're doing is passed on? And that's why I said what you're doing is really, really important. It's a reminder of the kinds of things, and Ron probably will remember this, that we did in the late 60s and early 70s when we used to have those all-night cultural events. You might remember this too. Those all-night cultural programs where we had the poets and the musicians and the artists come together, and they would just really, really focus on using the arts to promote social justice and using the arts to promote activism. So I would like to see this continue. So, welcome. So I just want to say something about the Center for Black Literature. The Center for Black Literature was founded in 2003. I am the executive director. Just a little slight modification. I have to get that old bio off the web. Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay. It's not your fault. It's just an indication that depending on what server you go into, you get. So currently, I am chair of the English department at Medgar Evers College. Writers Conference. I've been the director of the National Black Writers Conference since 2003. Before that, I was coordinator of the conference, but I'm director of the conference and I'm executive director of the Center. Okay. And the Center for Black Literature was really inspired by a need to look at how we bring literary arts into the schools and how we celebrate and acknowledge our writers and how we provide a forum for having black writers come together and talk about the state of black literature, and we expand the public's knowledge about the range of writing that black writers are producing. So it really has a lot of folds. I have some brochures in the back. I encourage you to pick up the brochure of the Center for Black Literature. We also have a series of programs. Part of what we do is host the National Black Writers Conference, the major conference once every 2 years. We just had the last one, which was called Writing Race. The theme was Writing Race, Embracing Diversity. Now, how timely is that? Yeah. Okay. And we honored Edwidge Dondercat. And we honored Woody King, who's called the Mayor of Black Theater Literature. We honored Charles Johnson. He was the author of Middle Passage. And we honored, who else did we honor? Who was the last one? Woody King, Charles Johnson, Rita Dove, of course. Rita Dove has been the Poet Laureate twice. So we had about 70 or 75 writers over 3 days, and we talked about films. We had a day just devoted to the youth. We had high schools come, elementary schools come. We had readings. We had writers' workshops over 4 days. Wow. And so we do that once every 2 years, and then we do, on the alternate years, we do a one-day symposium on a writer. So if you look at this card, it has all of our programs for the year. We're starting at the Brooklyn Book Festival. This week we have Writers Do Peace. I'm not going to read all of them, but this year we are celebrating a very, very special poet who came out during the Black Arts Movement. She would have been 100 years old if she were living, Gwendolyn Brooks. And we're calling the symposium Alma's Brooks. That will be in March. And we also are celebrating another Black feminist activist in June, June Jordan. Poet. So many people who don't know who these writers are. So part of the mission is to make sure that we expose the general public and our youth to these writers, and then we create a space for writers, contemporary writers, to come and talk about literature and about the work they're doing. If you go to C-SPAN and Google National Black Writers Conference, you will see many of our panels that are taped at the conference. They're taped at C-SPAN. In fact, there was one on last week about blacks in the digital media. So that's part of what we do. And I also, as you were interviewing, I was thinking about what I do. I host a radio show called Writers on Writing. And so it comes on every Sunday. In fact, well, it's on, it's past now, because it comes at 7 o'clock. And part of it is streamed, but it's on Medgar Evers College's radio station. And there's some cards here. And I interview writers talking about their work. Some of the questions that you asked are some of the kinds of questions I ask. It's a half-hour show, and during the summer we do repeats. So tonight we had was my interview with Amiri Baraka.
Oh, wow! Oh, God bless.
Yes, I was Tales. This was shortly after he was named the poet laureate, and I asked him about the story behind being the poet laureate. He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm not." He said, "I'm the last poet laureate of New Jersey." And he told the story about refusing to step down and refusing to accept the fact that they didn't recognize him. So I want to, again, thank you for this award. I want to encourage you to keep doing the work. One of my friends, a poet and a literary activist, is Ethelbert Miller. He was head of the a collection. He worked at Howard University up until last year. And he says to me, he's part of what I call my virtual world. When I plan these conferences, I ask a number of people to help me. And he said, whenever you have a program, if at least half of the people in the room are under 30, then you know you're doing something wrong. So I encourage you to keep doing this work. And I will be calling on you, as I said, as we start to plan for the next program, because I think you are the future. You're the documentarians, you're the griots, you're carrying on that tradition, and we have to keep it alive. Thank you.
Yes, I don't know if y'all understand the significance of this moment, but this is history being made, and you are all a part of it. Thank you so much.
Miss Miriam?
Thank you so much. Give it up one more time. I appreciate Black Award recipient, Dr. Brenda Greene.
Yes.
And I don't know if y'all heard that, but Appreciate Black NYC will be collaborating on the next National Black Writers Conference. So